Greetings once again, my fellow Star Trek fans. I'd like to welcome you to another Star Trek video. I hope you're in the mood for something cool, because this is really going to be something that's special. I want to talk to you today about an item from Star Trek, the original series. In fact, Season 1. I don't know if you guys remember, the episode was entitled The Enemy Within. Season 1, I think it was like the third or fourth episode, actually. And I'll tell you a couple of tidbits about that episode. Here is some background information on the now iconic Vulcan Nerve Pinch franchises. Another interesting piece of background information came from the same episode as well. During the episode, we are introduced to Captain Kirk's negative double. However, the transporter did produce another pair of doubles. When beaming up a dog, the transporter produced a positive double, as well as a more hostile double. When trying to put the two doubles back together using the transporter, after materialization, Dr. McCoy and Mr. Spock went to tend to the dog on a transporter platform. The dog appeared lifeless while laying on the transporter pad. Dr. McCoy turned to Captain Kirk and said, "He's dead, Jim." That phrase would go on to become almost as iconic as the Vulcan Nerve Pinch and would be used in many more episodes throughout the series. Alpha 177, I think, and they were collecting specimens. And geologist Crewman Fisher ended up falling off the side of a cliff, and he covered himself in ore and he cut himself. Well, the captain told him to go to sickbay and take care of the cut. But when he had gone up, the ore that was on his uniform kind of messed up the transporter. And after he went through, the transporter was acting strange, and Mr. Scott tried to confirm it as a short. But when Captain Kirk beamed up, when he materialized, he felt dizzy. So Scotty escorted him back to his quarters, suggested he goes to sickbay. But while Mr. Scott was gone, the transporter activated, and another Captain Kirk showed up. But this one was evil and hostile and aggressive. And it actually was Captain Kirk, but it was his negative side. The transporter had pulled the negative side out and materialized a whole new Captain Kirk. So we find that the evil Kirk is going through the Enterprise, and he's got the same knowledge of the Enterprise, but he's just much more aggressive. He ends up attacking crew members. He tried to force himself on Yeoman Rand, and Mr. Spock learns that he is, in fact, an imposter. Well, they have a dog that did the same thing. When they beamed up the dog, a nice, lovable dog appeared, and then this transporter activated and a mean, aggressive dog showed up. Well, make a long story short, they end up fixing the transporter or rigging it where they can send the doubles into the transport beam and they materialize as one. So they put them back together. And while all this is going on, Mr. Sulu and the landing party are on the planet and they can't beam up because of the dangers of the transporter. So Mr. Sulu is keeping the party and Captain Kirk advised of the falling temperatures is well over 100 degrees below zero. Interestingly, though, I don't know why they just couldn't take the shuttlecraft down, but they weren't able to for some reason. And eventually, they get beamed up. But what I want to show you today is from the WAN company. Incidentally, the WAN company that did the Type-1 and Type-2 phasers and the communicator, Bluetooth. I want to show you. I mean, this is really cool. It's marketed as a mood light, but I'm thinking the Star Trek in me really doesn't care what it is. It's just really cool. And you've got the phaser, and what the phaser actually does, when you aim it, you can activate the phaser and it actually heats up the rock. Star Trek, the original series, and we can see Mr. Spock, Captain Kirk, and in the background we got the Enterprise. We got the United Federation of Planets emblem. The original series, Star Trek, you can see the phaser and the rock. This is the rock mood light and Type 1 phaser remote control. You can see the side of the box, the way the rock is glowing, and it shows you the rock light. And this is the Wand Company. And let's see, this is 2018 release. You can see there's more of that picture. We have Dr. McCoy, Mr. Sulu, Mr. Chekhov, Lieutenant Uhura, and Mr. Scott. You can see the back of the box has the information. Highly detailed and realistic. Carefully textured, hand-painted rock for ultimate realism. Accurate Type 1 phaser. Highly accurate Type 1 phaser replica based on the original series' first season design. Immersive play features. Firing the phaser makes the rock glow as if heating up. Stop firing and the rock fades, appearing to cool. That is pretty cool. Atmospheric features. Use the Type 1 phaser remote to access a range of beautiful color and lighting effects. Ultra slow color fade. 10-minute fade through color spectrum with imperceptible changes between colors. Very slow dim to off. 10-minute fade to off. Perfect for bedtime. Star Trek, the original series. Rock mood light faithfully reproduces Helmsman Sulu's thrilling Alpha 177 planetary experience. Fire the highly accurate replica first season Type 1 phaser at the rock and make it glow for survival, or control it with a phaser to access a whole spectrum of relaxing atmospheric settings and provide an ambient glow in any one of the thousands of relaxing colors. You can see 2018 CBS Studios, StarTrek.com. On the other side, you can see what it comes with. Emergency survival blanket. So we get a Starfleet issue survival blanket. We get the cord, the phaser, the rock. It's 185 by 170 by 160 millimeters. Phaser replica remote, survival blanket, USB charging cable, and the manual. You can see on top, it's got the rock glowing glue. And you can see the number, Wand Company, X0022GD GF7. So let's go ahead and open it up. I'm dying to see what this is like. And before anyone says anything, I know the phaser that Mr. Sulu used on the planet was in fact a Type 2. So let me show you guys. This is by the Wand Company as well. And let me show you, in case you don't know, the difference between a Type 1 and a Type 2 hand phaser. Let's release this. This is the Type 1 hand phaser. Not as powerful. And I actually did a video on the differences of the phasers between Type 1 and Type 2 and all the parts. So this is Type 1. And when it's on, attached, this becomes a Type 2. And Mr. Sulu used a Type 2 phaser, not a Type 1. But I'm thinking for production and the costs of making them, they decided to go with the Type 1 phaser. Type 2 would have been really cool, but this is still going to be pretty cool. But just to clarify the Type 1. Okay, let's take everything out of the box. That's everything. So let's close the box up. And let's see, what is this? This is the Starfleet Command Issue Emergency Survival Blanket. It's pretty cool. Only to be used by trained personnel. Reflects 90% of radiated body heat. And is both windproof and waterproof. Uses a blanket or a shelter. Used to replace transporter lock or signal by reflecting light. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to remember the one that Mr. Sulu had, if it was yellow. I think some of them were green or brown. But I'll put pictures up from the episode. All right, what else we got? It looks like we have a cord. And this is for oh, and look, we have a tiny screwdriver in the cord. USB charging cord, no doubt. And we have a manual on the other side. The way everything is kind of tucked into the plastic frame. That's pretty cool. Let's see if it opens up anymore. All right. So on the back, you can see what I think is the phaser. And if you ever wondered what the inside of a Type-1 hand phaser looked like, there it is. All right, the introduction. Enjoy the second half of the 23rd century and the following captain's log. Stardate 1673.5. Captain Kirk records helmsman Sulu's desperate situation. Sulu and his away team are trapped on the surface of Alpha 177 by a faulty transporter and slowly freezing to death. On a planet condition critical, surface temperature is 75 degrees below zero, still dropping. As the temperature continues to fall, Sulu has to think creativity if he and the rest of the landing party are going to make it through the night. His solution? The heat a rock outcrop of using a phaser blast, allowing the landing party to take cover under thermal blankets near the glowing rocks and survive until the transporter is fixed. This highly detailed rock has been designed to enable you to replicate the experience on Earth in the comfort and relative warmth of your own living quarters. To recreate survival in rock may be made to glow redder and redder by firing Type-1 phaser supplied directly at it. However, unlike the rocks on Alpha 177, this specifically cast replica rock has a range of more atmospheric settings when less inclement conditions demand somewhat more soothing environmental illumination. So let's see, we got the phaser power. The phaser is powered by two AAA alkaline batteries. Insert the batteries before the first use. To fit the phaser batteries, open the door, loosening the lock screw and tilting the battery door up from the back. The door will lift up, but the screw is retained in a housing by a smaller washer. And you can see the rock. Looks like the rock, sorry, there's more. Season 1, Type-1 phaser. The rock's illumination and function can be controlled remotely by a specially first season original design Type-1 phaser, a replica of the phaser used by Sulu on Alpha 177. Again, it's not accurate. He used a Type-2. The trigger button on the bottom. Pressing and firing the phaser make the rock glow red. The locking screw, that's why we have the screwdriver. The pulse button, double press for survival. A minus button, double press for atmosphere. The thumb wheel is purely cosmetic and has no function. Like the wine company one that I showed you, when you turn the wheel, this goes up, but this does not. Showed you the phaser power. Let's go to the rock power. The rock may be powered either by 4 AA alkaline batteries or from a 5-volt USB power supply using the cable provided. Before first use, make sure that the rock either has its batteries inserted correctly or is connected to a 5-volt USB power supply. After the rock is turned off for a couple of days and powered by the batteries to save power, the rock's remote control receiver circuit will enter a special, very low power hibernation mode. To re-enable the remote control functions, press and hold the phaser trigger button with a pulse button for a few seconds until the rock lights up. So that's pretty cool. You can see the operating distance. The rock illuminates with red glow on phaser fire, or for atmosphere in a full spectrum of colors. So that's going to be pretty fun to play with. We got the survival. The survival mode is where the rock turns red as long as you fire and then cools down. And the atmosphere is when you can use the rock for different colors. And then for ultimate survival, we've got the emergency Starfleet blanket. You can see Mr. Sulu. Care instructions. This rock and the phaser have been designed for domestic use indoors and are not intended to be used outdoors. So that's a little bit of common sense things. The ultimate survival. The average adult human body radiates between 50 and 100 watts of heat. Generally, much of this heat is lost to the environment. When the air temperature drops and there is a risk of hypothermia, reflecting some of the heat back to the body using metallized survival blankets can be the difference between life and death. The standard issue Starfleet survival blanket provided with this product can be used to maintain body heat in freezing conditions. And for this reason, it could be kept in your landing kit for emergencies. To use, unfold a blanket and wrap the body in it with the blanket's silver side facing inwards. Please note that this is a single-use blanket. Note, carrying a survival blanket in freezing conditions is not suitable for wearing the correct attire for taking other proper safety precautions regarding shelter and transport. Again, common sense. You can see, press the plus button for survival in the atmosphere. It shows you the different settings. Item number WRC11317. All right, this is going to be really fun. Okay. So trying to find a hand phaser. Is there a way to open this? Okay, so it looks like there's some Scotch tape. All right, let's put the box aside. So this opens up. Just like this. There we go. This is an interesting way to package it. You can see the Type-1 hand phaser. And we got the rock. And I think that's everything. Yep. That's everything in a plastic container that kind of holds everything in place for shipping. So let's put the box back. And first thing, let's see. We're going to put some batteries in. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 batteries in the rock. And let's get the phaser open. Nice. Again, the wheel doesn't do anything, just the buttons. So, let's open up the phaser. All right. So I got some Duracell batteries. So let's put them in the rock first. And just like that. How cool is that? All right, now for the phaser. Just like that. You heard her say survival. All right, let's put the screw back in. There. How cool is that? You can see the rock cool. We heat it up. It gets hotter. Because, you know, we got to keep nice and warm because it's 120 below zero. You can see it starts to cool off real quick. Mr. Sulu, you got to warm it up again. 1 phaser quit, but 3 is still operational. Look at that. Get it nice and warm. And those batteries that I put in are really old. So let's try the other mode.
Very slowly dimming.
So we get it nice and hot. And now it's going to dim slowly. All right. Let's warm up the rock because it's really cold down here. You see the rock getting warm. All right, so let's switch it over. Look at that. That's pretty cool, what? The glowing, where it's kind of cooling off. This is really cool, and this is really fun. Look, here, let's fire together, and bring it right up to the camera, and we'll fire at it. Again, it might be louder. These batteries are so old. You can see it's starting to change color, getting white hot. There are other buttons on the bottom. All right, let's change the color now for the ambiance. Red, darker red. Here we go. The green is pretty cool. Let's see if we can get it to blue. You can see whatever color you choose, when the phaser heats it up, that color increases or decreases. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's a light that comes on the remote. And you can see it changes the color. So when you want the color to go down, you hit the minus button, or the button on the bottom. And if you want the color to intensify, you hit the plus, and that activates the light. And then when you hit the trigger on the bottom, you go to survivor mode, where it heats up the rock. And you can see it kind of glowing hot. So this would be nice when you're just about to go to sleep and you want to hit the top, get it nice and bright, and it's eventually going to go off as you fade off into sleep. That way there you won't have to worry about killing the batteries or having it on too long or keeping you up because of the light. It'll eventually fade. Okay, now we get to see what you got to do is hold the power button and it'll change. And when you want it to intensify, you want it to intensify the color itself. You can see the blue. I like the blue. When you hold down the power button, you can get it to change different colors. See the blue, the purple, now it's going to the red. Green, blue, purple, yellow, red, green. So, when you want it to change colors, you can actually push the button down and hold it, the power button. So if you like the color that it is, you can put it on the side of your bed and enjoy it in a dark room. And eventually, in 10 minutes, it's going to fade out to nothing. Or you can have some fun. If you're in bed, you can put your phaser on the side of the bed and you can shoot it in that color. The color you choose, it'll glow more intensely the more you shoot it. If you want to bring the color down, you hit the negative button, and that'll bring the white light away and it'll bring it more towards the color. So that, my friends, is the rock mood light. This is pretty cool. It'll keep you nice and warm, just like you're on Alpha 177. And again, Mr. Sulu actually used a Type 2 phaser, not a Type 1, but for purposes of marketing, it was probably a lot easier to manufacture a Type 1 phaser than a whole pistol. So the next video, my friends, stay warm.